I'm Maggie Osborne, and I'm a fellow within the Earth-4D program at CIFAR. Earth-4D is focused on life, energy, and water through the Earth, through time, and into other planets. And so we're asking really big questions. And I personally focus on deeper subsurface life, which includes aspects of energy, water, through the crust, around the world, and then also on other planets. And so when we're talking about impact of these things, there's everything from life on other planets, which, as you can imagine, is a fairly large, impactful thing that we are certainly looking for, but also huge aspects of water resources, of essentially the crowding of subsurface real estate on Earth, because so many of the future directions that we're moving to try to mitigate things like climate change and try to grow more crops and have more people have water are all either taking things out of the subsurface or putting things in. And so that's getting to be an increasingly crowded space that I think we have a lot of potential to work on. I'm a geomicrobiologist, and I study microbes that are interfacing really intimately with the Earth, either on the surface in extreme environments, places like hot springs and hypersaline lakes, or within the subsurface in aquifers, both sedimentary aquifers, so more like places you get drinking water, or even deep crystalline aquifers. And I think about how microbes make a living. So what are microbes doing when they live in these extreme environments? And a key question that I'm trying to ask through this work is, to what level do microbes in any space on Earth require the surface biosphere? So how much do, say, plants and the organic matter that they produce fuel subsurface ecosystems, versus how much are those ecosystems independent? How much can they fuel themselves? And that has a really profound implication for the history of life on Earth, as well as the potential for life off of Earth. If everything is dependent on our rainforests and our plants and the oxygen that those plants produce, well, that's kind of a problem for either life in deep time in the subsurface or on other planets. Whereas the evidence that we're acquiring and, building is that there's a lot of independence in the microbes that live underground. And so a great many of the microbes that we find are able to make everything they need themselves and live exclusively off of energy resources that are either in the rocks or the minerals that are present in those spaces. I think that's really profound. We can have a sort of guiding role in understanding and prioritizing different parts of that space. If there's a competition for space underground, we're already starting to see huge competition for water resources in different parts of the country. We're seeing sustained droughts, sustained challenges with agriculture, trying to figure out where those waters are, where more is coming versus not, what's a reusable, rechargeable resource versus something that is finite. Those are big questions that we can answer. And then when we're talking about aspects of climate mitigation via use of the subsurface, what happens when you inject all that CO2 underground? What happens when you try to use the subsurface as a place to store hydrogen, which are all things on the table? If you put hydrogen down, will the microbes that are there just eat it? Or can you get it back up later, as policymakers would have us believe? And so there's aspects to fundamentally what's going to happen when we move forward to try to solve major aspects of climate change. And I think we can inform those policies in a way that's impactful. The key issues on the horizon that we can tackle are related to sort of the energy revolution, as well as aspects of climate change mitigation. One can always hope that on the horizon we will have a major breakthrough in the field of astrobiology in terms of life detection. If that happens, we're ready, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. So I think in the context of the CIFAR sphere, I think the most pressing likely things to arise are this competition for subsurface space and understanding better how we can undo harms of the past by better using the knowledge we have of the underground present. CIFAR is such a great program because it brings together different types of people that wouldn't naturally overlap in the same space. And even if we were, say, at the same meeting, like one of our big national conferences, we certainly wouldn't be in the same sessions, and we very likely wouldn't even have met or had lunch, or there wouldn't be a space to interact and share ideas. Whereas I think what's really profound and what I love about coming to CIFAR meetings is when we are sitting together and we're having these conversations, you get ideas that are fundamentally new, because you have someone like a nuclear physicist watching a talk on microbiology going, hey, I have an idea. This might sound crazy, but crazy is allowed at these meetings. The bringing people together, people from totally divergent backgrounds, but even some that have enough overlap that we can talk to each other on these topics. I think CIFAR's role in bringing people together is really fundamental to our, not just answering sort of the current questions, but coming up with those big new ideas and coming up with the next frontier of the questions we'll work on.